Welcome to the May 25th, 2017 Pickwick City Schools School Board meeting. Will the treasurer call the roll, please?
Mr. Bostic.
Here.
Mr. Height.
Here.
Mr. Luby.
Here.
Mr. Gregerson.
Here.
Mr. Patrizio.
Here, and would everyone stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next agenda item is approval of the minutes. May I have a motion, or has everybody read the minutes, and are there any changes needed to the minutes? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or deletions that they wish to have on the agenda? Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
So move. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
This is a great school board meeting tonight. We have a lot of new teachers. We have some new teachers here. We also have our valedictorians and salutatorians here, and they're outstanding young ladies. What they've accomplished this year is remarkable, and I just want to make a special welcome to you guys for being here tonight. And we look forward to your speeches tomorrow night. Okay? No pressure at all, right? Very good. The next item on the agenda is board reports, and the legislative report is my report. And I just have a couple items. Earlier on in the year, there was someone proposed to put business members of the community on her board, and also the teachers would essentially job shadow people out in the community, or businesses out in the community. Those items have been removed from the budget, or removed from the legislation at this point of time, so it doesn't look like those items will occur. The budget still is pending from what I understand, and it's my understanding that should be completed sometime at the end of June. And so in the first meeting of July or shortly after that, we should know where we stand for funding for the next 2 years. Mr. Luby or Mr. Height, you have the Upper Valley Career Center report.
Yes, I have that this evening. The Upper Valley Career Center Board of Education met on Monday of this week. A review of what took place at the meeting. Dr. Luce, the superintendent, gave a review of a first reading of various policies and regulations. She also reminded everyone of the convocation, which is kind of like their graduation, being held this evening, and the end of the year luncheon is scheduled for tomorrow. Mr. Gibson updated the board on the progress of the Vet Tech program. Construction bids will be opened in June. Construction should start in July, with occupancy hopefully happening by mid-year in 2018. So another new program being started at the Career Center. And this is an interesting one, the Vet Tech, working veterinarians, preparing students for a career in the veterinarian line of work. So that should be a good one. The Board of Education also approved fiscal reports and approved the 5-year forecast. Various donations were accepted, including both monetary and donations of products to the school. The board approved out-of-district learning experience for students to attend a conference, and approved a high school calendar revision for next year. 2017-18 salary schedules were approved, and also various high school teaching contracts were approved. A lot of typical May Board of Education work taking place at that meeting, and the next meeting is scheduled for Monday, June 26th at 6 p.m.
Thank you for your report. Moving on, we have the hearing of the public on agenda items. Is there anyone here from the public to speak today on agenda items? Having none, we'll move on to the treasurer report and treasurer agenda. Mr. Hill.
All right, so I apologize for a minute or two delay on everything. We are in the process of doing getting bids and quotes and everything back on our furniture, so I had some information for you for that tonight. And that phone call that just came in was actually one of those people calling, probably trying to give me some further information. So anyways, tonight, the 5-year forecast, the approval of the 5-year forecast is on the agenda. So I did not have time to come up with a presentation. I was going to come up with a jazzy little, more like a Jeopardy thing, and then I was going to quiz everybody's knowledge on the fact. But since I've been dealing with furniture, it didn't end up happening. A couple things to point out is that we did just enter into a 3-year negotiated agreement with the PEA, and you can see that for the next 3 fiscal years, well, at least for fiscal year 18 and 19, we still will be remaining in the black, and then we have our work to do to continue to try to remain in the black there in 2020 as you look at that. So for the next 3 fiscal years, we should be relatively sound. We're going to finish this year. Again, this will be PICWA's 10th year finishing in the black, so that's a milestone marker for us, and just a good thing that we've been able to be good stewards of taxpayer money. One of the things to note, at the very top, you'll notice that the real estate tax line still continues to remain relatively flat. We expect that to happen for at least the next 3 years because the triennial budget won't come back. They'll come and reevaluate in 2019, and then those changes will occur later on down the road. So we do know that sales have been picking up and they're a little bit more brisk, but the follow-through with property tax money is that it normally comes in a much slower, later pace than what current housing prices are. So that's one of the things that we've been battling. One of the positive sides on this, if you look at the income tax revenue is up this year. And it was actually up over $200,000 over expectations. So that's a positive thing. That means that we must be able to, the economy's returning back to where it was around the 2007 time period. And that's found throughout all the assumptions that I put in the 5-year forecast when you look at that. So when you're going through there and you look at the overall state unemployment rate being in the 4% range, it's a little bit higher than the national average, but overall, the economy is returning and things are going well. So with that being said, the always big issue is the budget that Mr. Patrizio mentioned. The state budget hasn't been approved. Our governor has made a lot of income tax cuts, so people have been seeing their state income taxes be reduced, but at the same time, the sales tax went up 0.5%, but it's not keeping up pace with the tax cuts that were made. So there is a $400 million hole that needs to be filled. The House has filled about 66% of that and left about $140 million for the Senate to figure out. So between now and the end of June, we got to figure out who's going to see the $140 million in cuts. And we are one of the biggest beneficiaries of state funding. And so that $140 million may come to education because you can only do so much cuts and things that are required with like Medicare and Medicaid, things like with that stuff that comes from the state. So, any questions on this? I mean, it's been pretty standard. We've been talking about 2020 sort of being that year that we have to see where we're at. But other than that, I think that we're doing pretty well. Okay. So the next thing I have is the approval of the financial reports. Were there any questions on those? And then the fund-to-fund transfers. We have 2 fund-to-fund transfers that I'm asking you to approve tonight. One of those is for the debt payment that we normally make for the high school HVAC project. So that money comes out of our permanent improvement fund, and we put that into debt service so that we can continue to pay for our Q-Scoobies that we received from the federal government. They were 0% interest loans that allowed us to be able to build or install the air conditioning here at the high school. The second one that is on there is the fund-to-fund transfer of the funds that were remaining from the elementary, primary building, intermediate building school construction project. We were under budget, and we have $867,329.28 of local taxpayer money that is still remaining that gets transferred over to the bond retirement fund. So that money is what I'm asking to be moved. And then also a similar amount of money was sent back to the state. So we were close to $1.5 million, $1.6 million under budget for our project. So that's something to be said for that, how that project turned out for us. Any questions about those? Any other questions? 5-year forecast questions? Any other kind of questions?
Hearing no questions, will the treasurer call a roll on the approval of the agenda? Actually, I need a motion and a second, I'm sorry.
So moved.
Second?
Now you can call the roll.
Mr. Luby,
Yes.
Mr. Height,
Aye.
Mr. Patrizio,
Aye.
Mr. Bostic,
Aye.
Mr. Gregerson.
Aye.
And we move on to the superintendent's report.
Would like to call Jennifer Garland, our food service coordinator director, up to the stand to talk a little bit about the food service report and annual compliance report that she's completed for us.
This is the annual compliance report that I'm required by ODE to file every year. It says no foods or beverages other than those associated with the district's food service program are to be sold during food service hours. The district shall only serve nutritious food in accordance with the nutritional standards adopted by the board in compliance with the current USDA dietary guidelines for Americans and the USDA Smart Snacks in Schools nutrition guidelines. Foods and beverages in competition with the district food service program must comply with the current USDA dietary guidelines for Americans and the USDA Smart Snacks in Schools nutrition guidelines, and may only be sold in accordance to board policy. At this time of this year's annual review, all Piqua City school buildings are compliant and with the current USDA dietary guidelines for Americans and the USDA Smart Snacks in Schools nutrition guidelines. Also, I wanted to mention that at this time, I'm not asking for any raise in our lunch prices. We're still doing fine where we are, so I'm asking the state for a waiver. So far this year, we have processed over 1,800 free and reduced forms just here at Piqua City Schools. We're currently running at 54% free and reduced, and we are currently feeding over 65% of our student body, which over the past 2 years, we have continuously raised that bar, so we're hoping for close to 70 next year. And April the 24th was the food service program's kickoff for Cans for a Cause. Washington School won that today, and we fed every student ice cream sundaes right before they went home. And they alone brought in over 1,300 cans of food that were donated to the summer feeding program here in Piqua. So the food that comes in goes right back to our kids. So,
Thank you, Jennifer. Does anyone have any questions?
all right.
Each month, the building that hosts the board meeting gets to do a presentation about the academic progress they're making, and Mr. Messick, the lead principal here, is actually at the Career Center's commencement activities this evening. So with us, we have Mr. Height and Mr. Shovstall, who would like to share some things about Piqua High School.
Thank you. We're going to talk about 3 different things. First one is the continued development of our advisory group. We have a need for non-academic things to be covered, but in an academic way. For example, our ACT prep, our air testing scheduling, student scheduling, and student clubs and organizations. So we continue to develop that. We are also working on developing an attendance education committee. We are going to utilize our teachers to be the front runners and to develop 4-year relationships with all of our students to work on barriers that might address the attendance issue. And so that's kind of an update from things that we've done this year as we head into next year. And then Mr. Shovstall will talk about one of our initiatives that we've also used this year.
Another area of focus for us is going to be our PBIS and continue to build on the foundation that was laid this year. The school had a significant reduction in discipline referrals this year, and we just want to continue moving in that direction. In doing so, we visited, myself, and we had 2 staff members from here, Mr. Clark, and he had a staff member. We visited Lima Senior High School, and they were told by our state support team region that they were one of 3 names given, the other one being in Toledo, the other one being in Columbus. So we chose Lima Senior. And from there, we were able to get some ideas. We were able to sit down and talk with their principal, who was leading their PBIS charge there. So a lot of great ideas from there. From that, we are now looking at next year and the implementation of that. And the focus for us is improving our student-to-student interaction. So how are we going to improve that? And we're going to do that through our building leadership team, and again, create that roadmap moving forward. So
One of my duties this year was to observe the algebra block. I was able to work with all 3 teachers extensively, and it's been a work in progress for the last 2 years. Having had a large number of conversations with those 3 teachers, we are very pleased with the results. Kids are working for 84 minutes a day. They are divided and they are meeting the standards at the levels that they're working at and able to achieve mastery before they're being moved on. We are looking to build upon that. We have 3 teachers, Mr. Neary, Mrs. Sterrett, and Mrs. Buchanan, are now developing a language arts block for the freshmen. Our studies have shown us that if a kid falls behind in 9th grade, doesn't master the subject area, and ultimately has to play catch-up, not only are they playing catch-up their 9th grade year, but they have to do the same thing their 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade year. So with the need for 4 years of English, we are identifying students that would benefit from this time, and they will be able to receive remediation right away rather than trying to catch up the next semester. So the English block is going to be put in place next year, and it's going to be modeled right after the algebra block and the success that we've had there. So continue to push forward.
Very good. Any questions? Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Just a few statistics and information about graduation coming up. We will be graduating 235 seniors this year. We're aware that 103 of them are going to go to college, and at least 2 have committed to the military. Would like to personally introduce our guest this evening. So valedictorian Julia Shong, would you kind of wave at the group there? Okay. Salutatorian Ashley Ho, and salutatorian Jordan Booker. So thank you for being here, and congratulations again to you, to each. They're part of the next statistic, which is the fact that our seniors this year brought in $2,303,699 worth of scholarships. That's up from $1.2 billion last year. So that is a significant increase, and our seniors did very, very well this year. So just really proud of all the work the seniors did to bring those funds to themselves. Wanted to report, maybe Chip, you were going to talk about it, but we have a regional track meet that came to Piqua, and that was a pretty big deal because this is the first year we got our new track that we used our Premier Health dollars to pay for, and it brought people from Van Wert all the way to Cincinnati. And I was talking to Principal Messick today, and he was talking to me about how everybody that walks into the stadium just walks in and looks up, and they're just amazed. They're just literally amazed at our stadium, and they're looking at the track, and just received a significant number of compliments on our track and stadium. So that's a great kudos to our community. And that's it.
Okay. Move on to superintendent's agenda.
So I'd like to recommend the board approval of the attached list of students for issuance of a diploma from Piqua High School dated May 2017, pending satisfactory completion of the necessary requirements. Recommend board approval of the 2017-2018 school fees as presented in the attached document. General fees remain the same, just as our lunch fees did. There are a few minor tweaks to some of the other coursework, but very minor. Recommend board approval of the attached 2017-2018 meal prices. Recommend board approval of the attached request for an overnight trip for the girls' basketball team. Recommend board approval of the attached list of donations. Recommend board approval of the attached list of grants. Recommend board approval of the attached list of library items for disposal and removal from the inventory of Piqua City School District. Recommend board approval of the attached list of technology items for disposal and removal from the inventory of Piqua City School District. We always like to mention, and it is true that our technology department strips those of everything they can that we could use, so we could recycle. And recommend board approval for the student handbooks for the 2018 school year. The next board meeting, we will have Piqua Central Intermediates and the Piqua Junior Highs. Tonight, you have the high school, Washington, and Spring Creeks.
Thank you. I'm looking at the list of graduates here, and Julie and Jordan, your name are left off. I'm just kidding. Can I have a motion to approve the superintendent's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? On item 2, the board fees, I'd vote no on. And now we'll move to the personnel agenda. Mr. Lyons.
I won't make any awful jokes like that, ladies, I promise you. Personnel agenda this evening is obviously significant. We have a lot of new faces in the crowd, which we're going to introduce this evening. But I'd like to start out with a couple of retirement resignations. We'd like to recognize Bobby Conley, and I know that she's not out here, but for her years of service as a library aide at Washington most recently. And also I'd like to recognize Jim Conley, who is in the crowd tonight, probably wishes I hadn't brought this up and pointed him out, but Jim's been serving our school community for 40 years, and graciously gave us more of his time in the past couple of years in a support role. And I could tell you from the times that I had Jim in the library, and he probably wishes that he didn't remember those experiences with me. But Jim's been an incredible asset to this district, and I know that we all are here to thank you very much. So if we could give Jim a round of applause, and Bobby as well. Thanks, Jim. We do have several new faces in the crowd tonight, as we're going to ask for the board's approval on some new positions here. We do have, and if you could, we'd like to call you up one at a time. You can introduce yourselves. Sean Shoemaker will be recommended for the position of Director of Facilities, Grounds, and Maintenance. Sean?
So, glad to be here, excited, a little nervous. New position, I think, in the district, right?
Sure.
So, you see me in the hallway, stop and talk to me. I'm willing to listen to any of your problems. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to fix stuff. So, thanks for having me.
Thanks,
You're
Sean.
welcome, Sean.
Becky Holderman will be our school psychologist. We were fortunate enough to discover her thanks to some quick discussions, and very happy to have Becky with a lot of experience coming in that role to us tonight. So, Becky.
I'm super excited to come as well. I actually started my career working with severe autistic behavioral unit with students for about 5 years, and went to school at night to become a psychologist. So this is my 16th year as a psychologist. So I am super excited to join you guys. I know quite a few faces already and have met more, so just heard wonderful things and have felt very welcomed already, so very excited. I did bring my youngest of my family. This is Alyssa, she's 8. She's gonna be a 3rd grader next year. And then I have a 12-year-old son that's gonna be a 6th grader, and I have my first high schooler. My 14-year-old's gonna be in high school next year. So, and my husband, my son got asked to sing the national anthem for a Relay for Life tonight. So so they're there. So anyway, but thank you, I'm very excited, so.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you. Megan Underwood, I know she's waiting excitedly to speak tonight. Megan, you might recognize her. Megan is from Piqua, and she will be serving as language arts teacher at Piqua Central Intermediate School next year. Megan?
I'm very excited to join the team. Thank you very much. I brought my husband Dash, my daughter Ivy, and my daughter Genevieve with me tonight. So thank you for having me.
Welcome. Tyler will be serving, and I didn't skip over you, Leslie, but I did, but we're going to pretend I didn't. Tyler will be serving us in a math role at the high school next year, and he was not able to be with us. Leslie, we'd like you to come on up and introduce yourself. She'll be serving in our media arts position at Pickle High School.
Yeah, I just graduated and I'm really excited to come here. I just grew up at Indian Lake, so I'm really excited to be close enough to my family, but a little bit further away.
It's almost as good as college, isn't it? It's far away, right?
Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Finally this evening, no, we love that. We love that, don't we? Steve Grasso will be serving in 2 capacities. He'll be our CBI instructor and also serving as an English instructor here. And also will be leading the charge with the Indians as the men's basketball coach beginning for the 17-18 school year. Steve?
Hello, everyone. Very happy to be here. Appreciate the opportunity. I brought my family here, who we are very excited for this opportunity as well. My wife, Amy, my son, Cameron, who is very excited because his last day of kindergarten is tomorrow, and he'll tell you all about it if you give him the opportunity. And Carter, who will be with us very soon. So, grateful for the opportunity, excited to get started. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Coach. Welcome. Hey, sure, we don't want to ask him if he has any words of wisdom for us. I'm telling you, this young man is something special. I got a chance to talk to him out there, so. Welcome, everybody, and you can see we have several different pieces on there. Once again, thank you to all of our volunteers. Every month, we have people in the schools. It's been great to see them out for these field days and different things that are happening in the buildings as well. If you're interested in volunteering, please contact me. Outside of that, I recommend board approval for the personnel agenda as presented.
Very good. And it's nice to see all of you here and your families. It's nice to see young faces in here and kids laughing and having a good time, so welcome. And
I
with
have
that-
one comment I'd like to make, Frank.
Oh, sure.
Jim Conley, Jim was working at Bennett when I was there, and Jim kind of instigated our technology program at Bennett when computers, what they weigh, about 30 pounds a piece back then, Jim? And Jim had the skill, the ability to, he worked for some businesses in the area, and when they didn't want a computer, Jim had the ability to get a hold of it and bring it in. So we developed a classroom full of computers that were on loan, borrowed from, or given to us. And as I said, they probably weighed 30 pounds each, but we were right at the head of the computer parade there, so to speak. And Jim was a very dedicated and loyal employee and very skilled. And I want to thank him for all that he did for the students at Bennett and the staff, and just made us really, at that time, I think at the top of the list technology-wise. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. And I'll tell you, I've really enjoyed the last 40 years here at Pickle. It's been a great place to work. You don't stay in one district, you don't think of something wonderful. This is a great place. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I was going to say, I always thought you enjoyed your job, and it showed. And I hope you enjoy your retirement as much as you did your job. So, good luck. And I have a motion to approve the personnel agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Personnel agenda is adopted. Sure, if the new hires would like to go, you may. You don't have to sit here with the kids if you like.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations. Snuck out over there. So much for the crowd.
You guys later.
Moving on, we don't have any old items on the agenda. We have new business. We actually have quite a bit of business, and most of it involves this building. And,
And everything we've been working on.
yeah, don't you give an explanation of what's going on, Mr. Headley?
Sure. The first thing that I'm asking to do tonight is to reject the bids that we received for the summer construction project. We went out for bid on that, and our estimates came back $300,000 and $400,000 over projections. So it's actually over the legal threshold for us to be able to even accept them. We would have had to go out and rebid. So what we are doing is asking tonight to do some urgent necessity resolutions that allow us to correct some issues that we know that need to be done immediately, and then we will actually rebid out the rest of that package of work to be done next summer. So we have plenty of time to get some more competitive bids. I think due to the timing of things and when everything fell, people were struggling to get subcontractors who needed work and things, and it bumped up the pricing. So we're going to take another whack at it. So what we're doing tonight, we're asking, first of all, to do an urgent necessity resolution to work on the envelope of the high school. So we have worked with Meyer Restoration to go around the perimeter of the building, doing tuck point repairs, replacing all the caulk, fixing the flashing, that's the word, flashing around the roof, cleaning and sealing the brick, and trying to make sure that the outside perimeter, the envelope of the high school is waterproof. And then the second phase of that would be to come in and repair the damage that's been done inside the building due to the water that's happening. So as water comes into the building, in between those blocks, and you don't necessarily notice it, but as it collects and it freezes, it expands, and then it starts busting block, it starts pushing block forward, starts cracking things, and so we'll have to come in and do some repairs for that. So the first thing we needed to do is try to get this building dried up. Not so much when we're in here, it's not raining on us, but just the actual perimeter of the building. So that's the first urgent necessity, is to get that repaired. The second one that we have is the fire alarm system and the PA system here in this building. Those were two things that we really felt were a priority of getting replaced, and the sooner that we could get that done, the better. We have had some issues where we've had to do some emergency repairs to that fire alarm system, and we wanted to get out of that process. So we wanted to get a new one put into place. So by doing this urgent necessity resolution, we actually have a bid schedule. We're going to go out for bid on the 26th of May, which is tomorrow. We're going to receive bids on June 8th, and then we will have a bid, at some point at that point. The resolution basically states that the most responsible lowest bidder will win that bid. So that's how we will do that one. All that information has been designed by our architect, Fanning and Howie, and so all that stuff is being observed, because one of the biggest key things is to make sure the fire alarm and PA system that we currently have still works until we know the other one is working and fully replaces what we have in place. So that's the second thing that we're talking about. And then the third thing that we're talking about is another urgent necessity resolution, and it's an urgent necessity because of the timing to be able to get it here, and that is the furniture for the high school building. The furniture that we have here is original. Dwayne has been in it, Tony's been in it. So it's original to the building, and they're one-piece units, and it's very hard. I mean, kids have gotten bigger, not necessarily meaning fatter, but some have, but we're talking about they're just bigger kids. We've got bigger bones, they're taller, everyone is, and they're not fitting in these desks, and it's becoming an educational issue. And so we're looking at trying to replace that and making it comfortable for everyone. So we went out for bid on this. Again, you don't have to do this for urgent necessity, but we wanted to make sure that we were getting the fair price and making sure that we were able to collect that information. So we went out for bid on the furniture, and as of tonight, we received the lowest bid is, I can pass around some information that can get sent down the pike, is $246,205.77. So $246,205.77 to replace the furniture in the building here. The student desk, the student chairs, and some of the art tables, science tables. There's some other tables that are on here that are more of a collaborative style table as well. So all that's on here. I've given you a bid breakdown of the 4 bids that were received. I was actually congratulated on the fact that somebody was actually able to get 4 bids in the time frame that it got sent out and turned around in and answered all the questions that everybody had, because I'm not an architect and I've never done a furniture bid before. But the good news is that I was able to pull that all together. So my recommendation is to approve that too. And Dwayne and Tony and I and many other people have sat in the furniture, went through the furniture, and really tried to drill down on what we need. And so our hope is tonight that you'll approve the purchase of this urgent necessity resolution, but basically purchasing the bids there for Verco from Zimmerman for $246,205.77. The fifth thing that's on there tonight is the SecureCom as the lowest bidder for, we put out a bid for installing door access points like our new buildings have, so everyone would have a fob that would match the new buildings. So anywhere in the district, if you had a fob and you were authorized to be in that building, you would be able to use your fob to enter the building. And we'll all be on the same system. And we've worked out what doors needed on this building, but also included a bunch of safety precautions to be able to manage who's going in and out of the building. And Eric, did you have further information that you wanted to discuss about this? Because Eric is the one that is my go-to guy on the door access points.
This will eliminate us having to make copies of keys to give to people, coaches and people that use the buildings. Instead, we'll give a fob. We can program what access they have, and we'll know exactly when they enter the building, when they leave the building with their fob. So if we give a key to somebody and they no longer work for us, we can just go on the computer and just wipe them off the system and their fob won't work anymore. So we don't have to worry about collecting things and people getting in and out of the building that we don't want.
Somebody has to be here when the event's end, basically go down and reverse that process. So they just make the building that much more secure.
We went through a lot of stuff. Are there any questions?
I just wanted to add too that students got to come and try all the furniture as well. And that was really an important part of the process because the furniture now just does not meet their needs. So we made sure that they got to come down, they got to vote on it and give feedback on what they really liked and didn't like. And that was a really good process.
That's how we narrowed it down, because we've got furniture all over this place. But that's how we narrowed down to where we were at.
What happens to the current furniture in the building then?
The current furniture is going to be removed, and Zimmerman, because I've pressed very hard on that, they have assured me that it's actually going to be recycled in Troy, as a matter of fact. They have a contact in Troy that they will actually bring in 52-foot trailers, and they will back them up, and we will load up those semi-rigs, and they'll take it down to Troy, and they will recycle all of that. So that metal could end up in somebody's next car, for all I know. But that's the plan. So we'll be recycling.
Do we get any feedback, kickback, or is that just they're getting it off our hands, so to speak?
Well, we're going to work through that process because that was pulled out. I mean, so I gave you the total price. We're going to work through that process because there's potential that we may sell this to, I mean, so this can go on because there's multiple options about the disposal of. Right now, that's what we're leaning towards, but there's the possibility that we could sell this stuff to a guy that sends it off to Africa, and they use it over there. So there's the potential for that happening, but we don't know that for sure. We have to see what happens. So there's a couple different options that we have moving forward. We just got to figure out which one makes the most logical sense. It's a lot more complicated. Like, this is one of the things I said when I learned, because I'm not an expert on how this works, because to me, I'm thinking they're delivering a desk, and they're bringing one in, you know, then they can take one out. It should just be this process where we're bringing one in, taking it out. It should be easy to get them recycled. But there's a lot to do, I guess, with taking the tops off, the wood tops off the tables, because the metal has to be separated from the wood, and so it takes a lot more than what you would think right off the bat. It should be an easy.
As I look at some of the furniture, that's why I asked the question. you know, some of this furniture seems usable for somebody.
Correct.
And that's, I think if we can, you know, sell it to somebody to help them and help us a little bit.
Correct. Well, and we don't, I needed a price to make sure that at the end of the day, we're getting it out of the building so that we had place to put the new stuff.
Sure.
And if we can find something else to do with it, then we're more than willing. And if people on TV see this and there's some kind of company that's willing to come in and do it, what I didn't want to do, because there's places that go and do an auction and somebody's giving you $10 and you're getting $10 for a whole room of furniture, and that's a lot to do for 40 rooms of furniture for $400 kind of thing. So I didn't want to go down that route.
Well, as treasurer, would you be willing to have a yard sale up at your house? Because
As long as they can park on your street, Bob, they can walk over, right?
I understand, Chairman.
I would just ask we vote on these individually because they're legal in nature with the urgent necessity resolutions.
That's fine. And number 6.
I recommend board approval for the first read of the Neola Board Policy, March 2017 Special Update. This is the, we already approved the original, which was where people that are licensed to carry a gun could actually have it in a parking lot. This updates it so that military personnel could have the rights to do so, as well as licensed police officer could have guns on school premises. So just a quick update that they neglected to put in the original law that we passed already earlier.
Just so the public is aware, the 3 items that Mr. Hill has brought to us has to do with the high school, and it's over $500,000, or close to $500,000 of repairs and replacement costs that we have need for in this building. We have a lot more in this building that's going to happen. I mean, I don't know what it's going to cost to take this carpet down off the ceiling, but it's been here since I've been in school, which was 1980, when I was one of the original classes in here. And we've got a lot of other repairs, replacement of lockers, new flooring, and things of that nature. And part of the reason why I'm saying is we have a levy coming up soon, and you know, people think, oh, they have all new school buildings, there's nothing that needs to be done. This building in itself has a lot of work to be done, even though I know a lot of people consider this the new high school. It's 37 years old, and a lot of things are now needing to be replaced. So with that, I'd ask for, we'll go down the list, and for item number 1, I ask for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Will the treasurer call the roll?
Mr. Bostic,
Aye.
Mr. Patrizio,
Aye.
Mr. Height,
Aye.
Mr. Luby,
Aye.
Mr. Gregerson.
Aye.
And then we'll move to item number 2, the item 1 passed. Go to a motion to approve item number 2.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Treasurer, call the roll, please.
Mr. Gregerson,
Aye.
Mr. Height,
Aye.
Mr. Luby,
Aye.
Mr. Bostic,
Aye.
Mr. Patrizio.
Aye. And then that agenda item was approved. We'll move on to item number 3. Have a motion and a second, please.
So move.
Second.
Treasurer, call the roll, please.
Mr. Height,
Aye.
Mr. Bostic,
Aye.
Mr. Gregerson,
Aye.
Mr. Patrizio,
Aye.
Mr. Luby.
Aye.
And the item also passed. We'll move to item number 4. Have a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer, call the roll.
Mr. Gregerson,
Aye.
Mr. Height,
Aye.
Mr. Luby,
Aye.
Mr. Patrizio,
Aye.
Mr. Bostic.
Aye.
Move on to item number 5. Agenda item number 4 passed, so we'll move on. Have a motion to approve in a second.
So move.
Second.
Treasurer, call the roll.
Mr. Bostic,
Aye.
Mr. Patrizio,
Aye.
Mr. Gregerson,
Aye.
Mr. Height,
Aye.
Mr. Luby.
Aye.
Finally, number 6, item number 6. Item number 5 was approved, and we'll move to item number 6. May I have a motion and a second, please, to approve?
It's the first read.
It's just a first read?
Yep.
Okay. I don't need to have anything, then. We just move on. With that, I have the hearing of non-agenda public items. Is there anyone here from the public? There is none, so we'll move on to the adjournment. And first, would like to announce that on Tuesday, June 13th, 2017, at 5:30 at the Board of Education office, there will be a hearing of the public for for the rehire of Tina Watts and Bill Neese. And our next regular meeting will be 6 o'clock on the same date at the Board of Education. That, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Adjourned.